I'm a believer in just sharing. This is the data.
Yep.
And now you get to decide what you want for you. And I will support you in that. And I'm going to push you as far as you'll let me push you to whole food plant-based, because I know that that's the best outcome for you. But you are the one who gets to say, you've got complete veto power here. And you can say, no, I'm not ready for that yet. No problem. It's a process. We're going to loosen the lid, and then we're going to take the lid off next time.
Season 3 of the PlantStrong podcast explores those Galileo moments where you seek to understand the real truth around your health and dare to see the world through a different lens. This season, we honor those courageous seekers who are paving the way for you and me. So grab your telescope, point it towards your future, and let's get PlantStrong together.
Hello, this is Rip Esselstyn, and welcome to the PlantStrong podcast. I'm going to start today with a very depressing statistic. Right now, close to 650,000 people die each and every year of heart-related disease. That's 1 in every 4 deaths, and despite the headlines surrounding COVID, which are tragic, heart disease is still the number 1 cause of death in the United States and around the world. To quote my father, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn Jr., coronary artery disease is nothing more than a toothless paper tiger that need never exist. And if it does exist, it need never progress. I want you to get a visual on that. A toothless paper tiger. I've heard my dad say it 1,000 times, but really, think about it. Heart disease sounds like a death sentence. And like a tiger, it's not something you want to have lurking in your body or stalking you through your life. It sounds fatal and final and deadly. But it is toothless and made of paper. That's because heart disease is not just the luck of the draw or even some genetic crap sandwich served to you by your family members. Yes, you can be predisposed or even have risk factors baked into your genes, but it's your lifestyle that turns these genes on and off. You ultimately control the destination over that paper tiger and whether it grows fangs or remains toothless. Today, I want to introduce you to cardiologist Dr. Brian Asbo. After years of treating patients wrecked with poor lifestyle choices, debilitating surgeries, and multiple medications, Dr. Asbill had his own aha moment that inspired him to divert from traditional cardiology and become the first person in the world to become certified in lifestyle medicine. What does that mean exactly? Well, in a nutshell, lifestyle medicine focuses on the whole person and the importance of several factors, including nutrition, exercise, stress management, sleep, and our relationships as the foundation of good health. A healthy lifestyle is the medicine, instead of going straight to the pills and the procedures. Today, Brian will tell us about that journey and share some of the dramatic stories and results that he's seen in some of his own heart patients who have been empowered to make positive lifestyle change. And as a bonus, make sure you keep listening, because later I'm going to tell you all about a free live event we'll be hosting with Dr. Asbill and my father, and you're invited. Here we are, season 3 of the PlantStrong podcast. I want to welcome Dr. Brian Asbo. Brian and I actually go back to 2018, I believe it was, when you came to PlantStock that was in Asheville, North Carolina. And that was a doozy of a weekend that we had there. And I'm so glad you were able to come. And then since then, we've gotten together a handful of times. You came down to Austin to visit the Whole Food headquarters and John Mackey and see if you guys could arrange a little business deal there. That was really fun and exciting. But you are doing some really exciting things in the field of cardiology. And I want to get into that in a second. But before I do, I want to ask you just this. At what age were you when you knew that you wanted to go into medicine?
That's a good question. I actually, what comes to mind is say about 14. And I actually wanted to be a zoo vet for a long time. I wanted to take care of polar bears and tigers and stuff like that. And I remember sitting at my grandmother's kitchen table, and she sat me down when I was about 14 and said, nope, you're going to be a doctor or you're going to be a pastor and you're going to have pets. and I didn't want to be a pastor. So I'm a doctor. It worked out okay.
So at 14, that road was just already getting paved for you, and you never looked back. Is that right?
I never looked back. It's funny when I talk to other people who have had, different careers. I think a lot of doctors sometimes are a little bit envious of those people who had more of a circuitous route. The
Mm-hmm.
only negative I could say about the doctor path is that it is just so straight. It's high school, college, med school, internship, residency, fellowship, and then you're finally there. And it's a straight and narrow path. So I'm glad to have recently detoured.
You have, and we're going to talk about that. So where'd you go to medical school?
Medical University of South Carolina in Charleston,
Got it.
in the country. I grew up in Columbia, South Carolina, and so that was the financially the right option for me.
Yep. And so you're in medical school, and what year were you in when you decided, you know what, I'm going into cardiology?
Well, I didn't decide at that time. I decided to go into internal medicine.
Yep.
Because it was sort of, what I thought a real doctor would be about, sort of intellectual. I didn't want to be a surgeon, but I wanted to kind of know a lot about everything. So internal medicine felt like the right fit. And then I wasn't even sure, honestly, after my internal medicine residency until my last year. So I had a year where I was in private practice in between internal medicine residency and cardiology fellowship. Cardiology appealed because it was a mix of of acute care, heart attacks, and more chronic care, when you really get to follow patients for a long time. Some procedures, but not completely procedural. It's just a nice mix of things for me.
Mm-hmm. And when did you get out of your residency?
I finished my residency in 1997, and then finished my cardiology fellowship in 2001.
Okay. So 2001, you're out into the big bad world.
Real world.
And now you are a cardiologist, right?
Correct.
Now, I suppose there's, help educate me here on, there's probably lots of different types of cardiologists, like interventional and different. Right. What kind of cardiologist were you?
So I was what they call an invasive, non-interventional cardiologist. Cardiology, just like everything else, has gotten really subspecialized. And I did a little bit of everything in my training program. I put in some pacemakers, I did some stents, I did a lot of heart catheterization, stress tests, echoes, everything, really a broad base. But I didn't want to just be in the cath lab all the time. So I didn't want to be an interventionalist when you put the stents in. I didn't want to be an electrophysiologist when you put pacemakers in. I didn't want to be a heart failure specialist when you put in, ventricular assist devices and things. So I wanted to be a general cardiologist. So I decided I wanted to continue to do heart caths, where we squirt the dye in, and we'll talk about that, I'm sure, and look at the blockage in the heart arteries. But then I had to call in one of my partners to do the fixing, the stenting.
Okay. So that's what you mean when you say non-interventionalist, or
right.
Okay. All right. So you're doing that, and you started doing it in 2001 or so.
Yep.
And season 3 of this podcast is about when the person I'm interviewing kind of had their Galileo moment, when they had that aha moment that was like, you know what?
Yep.
I think there's something to plants and the power of plants that is absolutely undeniable. And you have such a powerful awakening that it shifts the course of your destiny and of your life's work and your belief system. So, I'd love to know when and how that happened with you.
Yeah, I'd love to share that. So I call that my epiphany. I enjoyed cardiology. I still do. My partners have been great. By the way, they've been very supportive, incredibly supportive of my right turn here. Love my patients, still continue to speak with so many of them. It was about 2013, and I had realized over the first 12 years of my practice that, I was also a lipidologist, so I was a cholesterol expert, bordered in lipidology, cholesterol metabolism. And so I had patients where I thought they were perfect. Their blood sugar is perfect, their blood pressure is perfect, their cholesterol is perfect, they're on all the right medications. But I was a little bit disappointed and shocked, frankly, at the number of patients that would continue to have recurrent events, even though they seemed to be well managed on all the right stuff. And I didn't have anything else I had no other tools in the toolbox, to offer them. And that, I think, that kind of learned helplessness a little bit contributes to the whole physician burnout thing. I kind of hesitate to use the word burnout, but I think that's, it's a real thing. And in 2013, I had a patient come see me who was in his mid 60s, actually spent part of the year in Ohio near Cleveland, and part of the year actually in Black Mountain. I mean, it's incredible how where plant stock has been. It really is interesting how all these connections have happened. But this man is the guy who changed my life. In fact, I'm putting my mud water tea on top of the card that he's recently sent me, a Christmas card that I still have on my desk because it just reminds me of where I came from. So he had 2 open heart surgeries, 2 CABGs, we call them, coronary artery bypass graft, CABG, cabbage. So if you hear me say cabbage, that's what I mean. Okay. Open heart surgery, taking the arteries out of your wrist, out of your chest, the veins out of your leg, and literally reconnecting them from your aorta, the major blood vessel coming out of the heart, around the blockage so that you're bypassing the obstruction, bypassing the blockage. And he had 2 of those procedures, and he was having angina, exertional chest pain, every day. So he's taking about 3 to 5 nitroglycerin pills under the tongue for relief of his chest pain every single day, and obviously very frustrated. In fact, was a little bit tearful in the office and recounting to me that he can't do what he wanted to do, recently retired. And he had come to see me for a second opinion because it had been recommended to him that he have a 3rd open heart procedure. And the first question he asked me was, how many patients have you had who've had 3? And I had 2. And he said, and how are they doing? And I said, unfortunately, they're both deceased. They did get some quality of life for a little bit of time after that 3rd procedure, but you run out of what they call conduits at that point. You don't have any more bypasses to use that are yours. So you're using, bypasses from cadavers, and your body sort of rejects those. And so
can we stop for a sec? I want our listeners to understand this whole bypass thing a little bit better. Yeah. So when you say that he had run out of conduits, right? So you basically take vessels from your own body, right? So, and typically where do these vessels come from? You said, I think the wrist and the leg. Yeah.
So, we're talking about replacing coronary arteries. So we'd like to use arteries to be the bypass conduits. So the ones that really seem to work the best are the internal mammary arteries, which run right down here on either side of your breastbone, your sternum, on the inside of your chest. Those work quite well, really, really well. We use the radial arteries here in the wrists leading up to the base of the thumb. We've used a couple of others in the past, but those are the arteries that we typically use. And conventionally, we also use the veins in the leg.
Yep.
But then we're asking veins to serve as arteries, and they just don't work as well as we wish they did.
So tell me, with these bypass procedures, typically, I've heard some stats, but I want to know if you've heard the similar ones. Yep. What % usually fail after like 1.5, 2, 3 years?
Yeah. So that was actually data that was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, which is kind of the Bible of medicine. That was 2009. And the data that they shared was that it was about 30 plus or minus a couple %. Okay. 35% to 50% of vein grafts will develop about a 75% narrowing within 12 to 18 months.
Yep.
It's not what you want to hear when you're having your 3rd open heart surgery.
No. And then, so you have better results when you're using arteries from the wrist or the...
Generally speaking, yes.
right? And then what happens when you take when you take that artery from the wrist that goes, I think you said to the thumb, what happens there? Do you need a replacement there, or does
No. So you've got a radial artery here, and you've got an ulnar artery here.
Yep.
And there's kind of a circle in your hand. So you can feed your hand as long as you've got an ulnar artery that works. So we do a test to make sure that you have a working ulnar artery before we carve out your radial artery. And you can perfuse your whole hand just from the ulnar artery because of that circle in there.
Got it.
It's like having two kidneys. Why do you have two kidneys? One seems to do okay.
Right. So you have some redundancy there and it works. Okay, good. Okay, so I cut you off, but if you could continue with the patient. So
yeah,
he's looking at
so
three.
He's looking at the third, right? The three-peat, we call that. And you think there's got to be another way. And as luck would have it, I had been given a book by a patient of mine called Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease.
Never heard of
it. Your dad.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It truly is amazing how this happens, right? So I had read the book and I had tried a couple of things. I at that point was not completely plant-based. I went completely plant-based. My cholesterol dropped 45% in a month. So I said, listen, your symptoms are stable. This is not an emergency. Okay. This is not an emergency procedure. Go try this, read this book, and come back and see me in 3 months. 3 months later, he came back. He's lost 27 pounds, which was needed, but not full, right? His cholesterol dropped 100 points. And as a lipidologist, I have to say, there's nothing that I was trained to do or offer you that would have been as impactful as simply changing what you ate. And that was my moment. That's when I said, I've got to find out more about this. And I have a feeling this is going to change my life and my career. And it has.
And so as a cardiologist, as somebody that's trained to use a certain set of tools, and now you're facing this kind of whole new paradigm. Can you remember at first thinking, I don't want to look through the telescope and see that and go too far into that because it's going to really mess with my life and confuse me. I mean, was there any of that for a little while?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you've obviously talked to a number of doctors who shared that or else you just have incredible insight.
No, I haven't.
That really took me some time. It was not an overnight thing where I said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. I began to read more and more about it and study more and more about it, plant-based nutrition and lifestyle medicine in general. I became board certified. Let's see. First, I started offering CHIP, the Complete Health Improvement Program, here in Asheville in 2014. And I heard two things from that. I heard patients say, I haven't felt this good in years, which is not something that my patients had been telling me in the cardiology office on 10 different medications and side effects, and just felt bad, right? And the other thing they said was, why has my doctor never told me this before?
Yeah.
That was another moment when I thought, what am I going to do here, right? Am I going to bury my head in the sand and making good income as a cardiologist and stay with that, try to do the best I can, or am I going to do something different? So 2014, we started doing CHIP. 2016, we started the Ornish Lifestyle Medicine Program here that I know you're familiar with. 2017, became board certified in lifestyle medicine and told my practice that I was going to have to leave the practice. I'm still going to be the medical director of cardiac rehab at my hospital system, but I'm not seeing one-on-one cardiology patients now because I decided I needed to be a lifestyle medicine physician. And that's when we started a new practice. So it was very scary, and it took a lot of prayer and thought. Yeah. And it was about a 2-year transition for me.
And so you were at Asheville Cardiology and Mission Heart, right? And how many cardiologists are there at that hospital?
We've added a couple since I left in August. I think now we're probably up to 27.
Okay.
Plus or minus. 27. Yeah.
And I have a couple questions for you about that. Of those 27, how many are also plant-based like you are?
I'd say right now, completely, maybe 2.
Uh-huh. And of those 27, were they willing to hear what you had to tell them about your results with your patients? And how do they take that?
They invited me to give cardiology grand rounds and talk about the program that we were going to bring, the honors program in particular, and CHIP. They were very, very supportive. They were very open-minded. Lots of good questions, lots of good discussions.
Yeah.
Kind of like patients. I'm interested. I'm not sure that I'm ready to jump in with both feet yet, but I hear you. We'll support your intensive cardiovascular rehab program and send patients to you. They're like most people, some of them said, I'm all in. Some people said, I'm skeptical. And a lot of people in the middle said, I'm interested, and you sort of plant the seed and let it grow at its, over its natural time. Everybody's a little different.
Yeah. So you gave that story of that one patient. They came in, he was staring at his third, was it, you say open heart?
Yep.
Third open heart? Oh my gosh, can't even imagine.
Yeah.
And where is he today?
He moved back up to Ohio. Can't think of the name of the town. It's somewhere near Cleveland.
Meaning, how's he doing?
Oh, he's doing great.
Yeah.
Let's see, that had been 8 years. In 8 years, I know that he had a stent in one of his bypasses. I don't know of more than that. He's also suffering a little bit from Parkinson's disease, which plant-based diet will help there as well, frankly. But he's had, instead of having third bypass surgery, he's had one stent in 7 years, which is 7 or 8 years now. So yeah, much better course.
Yeah. And then, so after him, you started working with other patients, and did you get really nice success with other patients?
Yeah.
Again, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. It's a spectrum. I mean, I think people who go all in, it kind of depends on where you are. I mean, the people who were like him, kind of desperate at the end of the road, they were the ones who were a little more motivated to say, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to embrace this completely right out of the gate. Some other people say, well, I'm going to dabble. And I would say, look, there's data to support that the further you go towards that plant-based end, the better your outcomes are going to be. I support wherever you want to be on that spectrum. Yeah. I'm not going to, not be your doctor because you're going to have steak once a week instead of every night. But it depends on how you do. If you have another event, we're going to have to ratchet it up a notch. And the problem with heart disease, as you know, is that next event may be your last event. So that's pretty tricky.
Yeah. If you or someone you know has been affected by heart disease, I want to invite you to join us for a free educational event on Thursday, March 18th from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. This virtual event will be the first in a series of new educational touchpoints, aptly named RIPS Rescue. In each one, I'm going to connect you with medical luminaries who will provide insight and actionable steps that you can take immediately to stop the progression of chronic Western disease. In this first event, you'll hear more from Dr. Brian Asbill, plus my parents, Ann and Essie, as well as a longtime patient of my father's, Jim McNamara, all to help you do what you can to make yourself heart attack proof. As firefighters, we're trained to be first responders to any emergency. Now that I'm a retired firefighter, I want to be your first line of defense. I want to help you rescue yourself from all these chronic diseases, one paper tiger at a time. Visit the show notes to register, or simply go to plantstrongpodcast.com and click the link inside this week's episode. We want everyone to know that heart disease can be prevented. It can be stopped in its tracks, and you can make yourself heart attack proof. So you mentioned lifestyle medicine. I did a little homework here, and I found out that and this is so crazy to me, that you, of everybody out there on the planet, you were the first person to become registered in lifestyle medicine. You were like 00001. How crazy is that? And I love the fact that you were number one and you were a cardiologist.
Yeah, that's kind of unusual, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I was walking through at the board meeting at the lifestyle medicine annual sessions, taking the exam at the end of the sessions. And someone came up behind me and was screaming down the hall, number one, number one. And I thought, what is that lunatic doing? And I realized not until he was right on me that he was talking to me. I said, what are you talking about? He said, you're the first person to register for the exam. Your certificate's going to be number one. You have to pass the exam, but you're going to be number one.
Well, basically, you are the Jacques Cousteau of lifestyle medicine. Jacques Cousteau was number one when it came to scuba diving, kind of the certificate. Just so for our listeners that don't quite understand lifestyle medicine, can you kind of give us a short overview of the difference between lifestyle medicine and primary care or primary medicine?
Yeah. So lifestyle medicine is all about the evidence-based, and I'll stress evidence-based, practice of helping people adopt healthy behaviors to sustain health and well-being. It's not just health. I mean, let me make that clear too. It's also well-being, because you can be healthy and need a lot of work done mentally, psychologically, emotionally. So it just resonated with me. Lifestyle medicine really kind of looks at 6 different focuses. Plant-based nutrition, nutrition, specifically whole food plant-based nutrition would be one.
Yep.
Exercising more, stress management, sleep, which is important. If you don't sleep well, you don't have the energy to really dive into this stuff. Toxin avoidance, so things like smoking cessation, risky alcohol use, benzodiazepines, opioids, major crisis everybody's familiar with. Yep. And then the piece that really attracts me a lot too is the connection piece, the social connection piece, because none of us can do, it's very difficult to do this by yourself. Yep. Life and behavior change. So you need connections. So lifestyle medicine really looks at all that. Primary care is just the doctor who's primarily in charge of your care. Your doctor, your general practitioner, your internist, your family practitioner, that's primary care. So primary care docs, historically, many of them have not practiced lifestyle medicine, but now more and more of them are being board certified in lifestyle medicine and using that as sort of the foundation of treating their patients. Instead of saying, okay, you're overweight with diabetes, we're going to put you on metformin, and you have high blood pressure, and we're going to put you on lisinopril. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about let me educate you about the importance of lifestyle behaviors and plant-based nutrition, and maybe that would be what you want to try first before the medicines, or maybe we use them both and then wean the medicines off. Just a complementary. Yeah.
Tell me this, as a lipidologist as well, how important to you, what kind of a red flag is elevated cholesterol level in your opinion?
Major.
Yeah,
it's a major red flag. Bill Roberts, would say, he published at AJC, American Journal of Cardiology for years, would say, it's sort of the sine qua non of heart disease. You don't have high cholesterol, you're not going to have heart disease. We have seen patients certainly who've had heart disease who've had, quote, normal range cholesterol. It depends on, of course, on how you define normal. But, if your cholesterol is under 150, your total cholesterol is under 150, your LDL, your bad cholesterol is under 70, something we call non-HDL, which is total cholesterol minus the good, is under about 100, you're in a pretty safe zone there. But if you're at the, 200 total cholesterol level, which for years was touted as sort of the target to be below that, that's not going to protect you. You're going to have trouble.
So what do you think, and I think we've kind of talked about it here, but I just want to bring it up again. I mean, I feel like cardiology, they almost can't see the forest through the trees. And do you think that's because it's a conflict of interest, with, if I can make 50,000 for this stent and 110 for this open heart, like you said, I mean, maybe they have their head in the sands and they don't want to see the evidence. I mean, I just can't imagine a doctor in 2020 that's not reading the research and staying up to date with that. And, I can see it going back to the 1990s when my dad and Ornish were really the only guys that were doing it. But now it seems like it's much more, I'm not going to say mainstream, but it's out there between Kim Williams and, a lot of others, this is, I almost feel like you have to be trying to look the other way, not to have smelled it or seen it or heard about it in the last decade.
Wow. I mean, there's so many, that takes me in so many directions mentally. First, kudos to Kim Williams, who, when you're hearing you speak, it reminds me of him saying, there are two types of cardiologists in the world, right? Those who are plant-based and those who don't know the data. And I know I'm going to die, but I don't want it to be my fault.
That's right.
So, I love that. And I told him I love that when I was at Plant Stock. And, I think there's a lot of reasons that cardiologists still do what they do. One is that, this is still what we're trained. I mean, you're trained to do a certain thing. We're trained in pharmacology. We're trained in procedures. We've spent years working on our knowledge of different medications, different interactions. We've spent years working on honing our skills in the cath lab, and we kind of do what we do. I mean, we're to add plant-based nutrition, or for this matter, any other thing that has been in the future will prove to be something that we ought to be adopting. You got to learn how to use the new tool. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a busy practice environment, seeing more and more patients in less and less time, it is incredibly difficult to pull out that new tool, have time to learn how to use the new tool. It took me a long time to study for the American College or the Lifestyle Medicine boards. That's not something that just happens overnight. It takes a lot of time, and that's one thing we don't have. And the other thing is when we're seeing patients, if I have 7 minutes to see you, it is far easier for me to write a prescription for you than to say, you know what, we need to talk about your nutrition. Oh, yeah. Boy, we only got 2 more minutes. We'll have to talk about it next time. I'll say, why don't you come back in 3 months? Yeah. It's just this never-ending circle. I applaud them for everything that they do. I will tell you that my joy in practicing cardiology was completely restored when I was able to share with my patients all that I learned from studying for the board exam, for lifestyle medicine. And it was just a different style of practice. We're still managing the same thing. I was still managing coronary disease. I was still managing atrial fibrillation, still managing diabetes, hypertension, obesity, cholesterol, but just in a different way. And what I found is that patients really, that's what they want. That's what they want. So, we'll get there. We're going to get there. And the other thing is that the lifestyle medicine residency curriculum's now out there. We're training the new doctors a lot more in nutrition than the old school like me were trained. And so they're going to have that tool in their tool belt when they come out, and it's going to be better for everyone.
When you say that's what the patients want, were you referring to this kind of the lifestyle, the new lifestyle, or the pills and just that? No. Okay.
Patients want to know that they have power. They love being empowered to care for themselves, to understand that this isn't something that's just some unavoidable process that's happening to me. This is, I have control over this, and I just need to get educated. I need the education first. I think that's always the first part. You don't know what you don't know. Yep. And then you need the opportunity to build the skills and the support as you're building those skills. And I just saw the light come on for so many patients when they thought, wow, I can do this myself. Yes, you can.
To me, there's nothing as powerful as a patient taking control of their health, and really, I like to say rescuing their health themselves, right? Because they are in control ultimately, but many of them don't know it, right? They think, oh, it's bad genes, or it's my parents, it's my they like to blame it on maybe their doctor or their friends, but I have just found that when somebody really decides to own this, there's no stopping them. Yeah, I want to pivot and talk and throw this out at you. So today we just crossed 500,000 people dying from COVID-19. I looked on the CDC website, and it shows that on average we have about 655,000 Americans that die from basically heart disease every year. So it's about 155,000 more than have died of COVID in the last year. And to me, the tragedy in all this is that, and I'd love to hear your opinion, is that 655K could probably be cut. It could be down 80%, if not more so, if people would embrace what you're prescribing now with your lifestyle medicine. And then the spillover effect into the people that are dying from COVID because they don't have the heart disease and they don't have the hypertension and the, morbid obesity, that number would probably be drastically lower as well. So anyway, I just find it all so very tragic that we're having.
It is. I can honestly, I can hear the emotion in your voice. The common denominator really in a lot of this, COVID, cardiovascular disease, other chronic diseases is inflammation. Our bodies are we're beating them up all the time with what we eat and what we're drinking, what we're smoking, not resting, not exercising, and we're chronically inflamed. And we can't, that's not ever going to yield optimal health. And so what I love most about lifestyle medicine is that it's not, I'll never say that anything is a complete panacea. However, if you really do change your life, change what you eat, change how you move, change how you sleep, honestly, even change how you think, the mental piece, it treats it all. And it really treats it all. You lose weight, your inflammation, your heart's better, your immune system's better able to fight off bacteria and viruses like coronavirus. You're never bulletproof, but you're pretty damn well armored. If you eat right, you are. And it just, there's nothing else out there. There's no pill out there that attacks so many different disease processes. So I 100% agree with you. 1,000% agree with you.
Yeah. So remind me, when did you take that detour and when did you leave Asbill Cardiology?
So I left in August. I was rehired as the medical director of heart cardiac rehab for Mission Health. So Mission Hospital and several outlying hospitals.
Did you see that happening? Was that part of your?
Yeah, I thought that was going to happen. This is one of those moments in any podcast when you wonder if you should say this. So I'm going to say this. Mission Hospital decided to get rid of their honors program at the end of December. And I had to go through the stages of grief. And I was pretty incensed, frankly, by the whole thing, because I knew it was a financial decision. I get it, but I'm not happy about it. And so I was going to say, no way do I want to do this. You're getting rid of my baby. I know this works. And they're going to pivot to the Pritikin system. I know you're familiar with that too, and a lot of your listeners, Nathan Pritikin, the Pritikin Center in Miami. We're going to start that probably in June. Probably some legal stuff needs to be done, but that's in process. The reason I said yes, there were two reasons that I said yes. Number one is that only 20% of people chose Ornish. You had to opt into Ornish, and it's a heavy lift, as you know. There's a lot is required of you there. Okay, there really is. That's 8 hours a week for 9 weeks. But only 20% of people chose that. And the Pritikin system is going to be the default cardiac rehab system for Mission Health. So everybody's going to go through Pritikin. So the reach is greater. I like that. I can't really compare it to Ornish, which I really loved because I haven't done it yet, but I'm learning about it. The other reason I said yes is that I'm really excited about doing a pilot project. They'll just very briefly tell you it has to do with discharging patients from the hospital, not only with their discharge medications, but with their discharge food and how we will get it to them over a period of a month. And I think if we do that, I think everybody wins. I think the hospital wins because readmission rates are going to go down, and the patients are going to win because they're eating the right foods. The doctors win because they're going to get the experience of the patients not getting readmitted, and their light bulbs are going to continue to glow brighter and brighter. And they're going to say, I remember Brian talking to me about this, making a difference. And then it's going to get published in the medical literature. And then more doctors are going to see it. Pritikin wins because they're going to get, they're going to have to give the patients the food. I just love projects like that where I don't see a loser.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. We like no lose.
Yes.
So
I said yes.
So I have a question for you. So I know that, the Pritikin program used to be pretty darn pure as far as being whole food plant-based. Has it gotten a little muddy over the years? I mean, have you looked at the program, and do they allow egg whites and some low-fat dairy and stuff like that? And maybe that's part of the spectrum, but
yeah, I think it is part of the spectrum. And I don't have any long-term experience with them since I'm just getting into this now. But Ornish said egg whites and no-fat dairy. Not completely, it's not plant pure. Pritikin, just from what I was looking at this morning, actually, fish, occasionally 4 ounces of fish, fatty fish, salmon, anchovies, sardines, that sort of thing. It's not plant pure, it's not. And that was another issue for me as I decided to agree to do that. I wasn't sure if I wanted to put my stamp on that, quite honestly, so to speak. But I think it just gives you an opportunity. It gives me a megaphone to say, this is the program. Let's really dive into the data.
Yeah.
And I will say that Pritikin says, it's really interesting. They said, the best outcomes, the reversal, if you want reversal, this is what they said in the literature that I read this morning. If you want reversal, you need to go whole food plant-based.
Yeah.
But this is a heart healthy diet. So what, do you want best outcomes? Do you want slightly less than? I want 87% of the best outcome. Okay. So I'm going to eat fish, 3-ounce portion every other Thursday. It gets slippery. And you kind of wonder, honestly, if they don't just say, this is what we think people can do, so we're going to propose this, instead of this is what is best, and we're not sure that how many people are going to do it, so we're not going to roll that out. I'm a believer in just sharing, this is the data.
Yep.
And now you get to decide what you want for you, and I will support you in that. And I'm going to push you as far as you'll let me push you to whole food plant-based, because I know that that's the best outcome for you. But you are the one who gets to say, you've got complete veto power here, and you can say, no, I'm not ready for that yet. No problem. It's a process. We're gonna loosen the lid, and then we're gonna take the lid off next time.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds good. I'm glad you're doing that. What else do you have? Anything else that's really exciting you these days?
Oh, it's super exciting. So we co-founded a business called Ruckus Health. Ruckus, creating a ruckus.
Yep.
Disrupting a current sick care system and making it a healthcare system. So several of us are working on that project right now, and that really is what's taking most of our time. We're excited about where that's going to lead us. We could talk about that a long time. I'll leave it there for now, but we really just want to collaborate with anyone who's interested in supporting people as they recover their innate ability to live in physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual balance. That's what we do.
I like it. Ruckus, baby. Ruckus Health.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this before I let you go. What'd you have to eat today so far? What'd you have for breakfast? Let's start there.
Great question. So I'm kind of a creature of habit, although not as habitual as it sounds like your dad is. I had kind of have your dad's breakfast. So I had oatmeal, a bowl of oats. In the winter, I have oats with a banana cut up for the sweetener.
Yep.
Half an apple. And then I microwave that. So it just, stir it all up.
Is that apple sliced up as well?
It's chopped up. Yep. Half an apple chopped up. The apple gets kind of soft. The banana just turns into the oatmeal. I mean, there's no banana pieces in it anymore. It's just sweetened oatmeal. The riper the banana, the better, because I like it sweet. No added sugar. And then, let's see, about a half a cup of mixed berries, Wyman's is what I use frozen because I put the frozen berries in there and it cools it off to where I can eat it faster. And then 2 tablespoons of flax meal.
Yep.
And then about maybe a 1/4 cup of walnuts, a 1/4 cup of pepitas, pumpkin seeds, the green ones. I love those.
Yeah.
Occasionally a few almonds, occasionally a little bit of hemp seeds, hemp hearts. And I think, and cinnamon, and a couple of good shakes of cinnamon and a pinch of salt. And then boom.
How big is that bowl? That sounds like a bit of a mother bowl right there.
I have learned how to fill up the bowl without it in the microwave oozing over like a lava into the microwave where you have to clean it up.
Yeah.
I'm 90% clean free. And this thing probably weighs about a pound. I mean, it's a bowl as big as my head. It's a good start for breakfast. For lunch, actually I had leftovers. I had tofu tacos. I did a little cooking demo yesterday, and for Appalachian Sustainable Agriculture Project, I'm the president of the board for ASAT, local food movement, and they wanted me to do a little video, so I videoed tofu tacos, and I had that for leftovers for lunch.
Nice. And is your family on board?
Yes, not 100% though. My wife is 100% on board. My older son's in college. And my younger son is a sophomore in high school. My boys are probably, I'd say they're 90% on board. I mean, they eat what I make. I'm generally the cook at my house. And so we eat, supper together all the time, breakfast together all the time. Lunch is kind of on your own. And, occasionally the boys might sneak in, chicken into a salad or something. But I'd say I can say with confidence, I'd say 90% kids, 100% parents.
Yep. It's a beautiful thing. Thing. Well, Brian, I want to thank you for being part of the Plant Strong podcast. I want to thank you for your courage and for making this detour that is really going to be impactful, and for doing your best to, help further the mission of people seeing the light and being an advocate for people's health. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rip. Appreciate it. And thanks to you for doing the same.
Oh, yeah. All right. Peace. Engine 2. Keep it plant strong. Yeah. All right. Okay. Don't forget, March 18th, you're going to hear from Dr. Asbill, plus my father, my mother, and myself. It's live, it's free, and it's going to be our first Rips Rescue event called Make Yourself Heart Attack Proof. To register, visit this podcast episode page at plantstrongpodcast.com. Next week, I'm thrilled to welcome Team Shirzai, Doctors Dean and Aisha Shirzai, back to the Plant Strong podcast to talk about the release of their upcoming new book, The 30-Day Alzheimer's Solution. From heart disease to neurological disorders and beyond, we're here to help eradicate chronic Western disease the Plant Strong way. Hope to see you next week. And one other insider note for our podcast listeners, we're about to open our Rescue 10X Mindset Mastery program to those who are on the wait list. This program only is offered a few times a year and gives people who need it 10 weeks of group coaching, accountability, and support. If you've tried absolutely everything but can't stay on track with a Plant Strong lifestyle, this program is for you. If you want to finally jump off the cycle of yo-yo dieting and get yourself in the mindset for success, I want to invite you to check out the program. Go to rescue10x.com. That's the number 10 followed by the letter X, and enter your phone number. We'll then text you a VIP discount code as soon as the program opens. Don't miss out. Visit rescue10x.com or click the link in the show notes today. Thanks. Thank you for listening to the Plant Strong podcast. You can support the show by taking a quick minute to subscribe, rate, and review at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows. Sharing the show with your network is another great way to help us reach as many people as possible with the great news about plants. Thank you in advance for your support. It means everything to me. Have you had your own Galileo moment that you'd like to share? What happened when you stepped into the arena and shed the beliefs that you thought to be true? I'd love to hear about it. Visit PlantStrongPodcast.com to submit your story and to learn more about today's guests and sponsors. The Plant Strong podcast team includes Carrie Barrett, Lori Kordowich, Amy Mackey, Patrick Gavin, and Wade Clark. This season is dedicated to all of those courageous truth seekers who weren't afraid to look through the lens with clear vision and hold firm to a higher truth. Most notably, my parents, Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn Jr. and Ann Crile Esselstyn. Thanks for listening.